Brace yourself!
So, hello everyone, welcome back to another video where I'm going to talk about the new James Bond trailer. This is the new trailer that came out that showed the story elements of the James Bond trailer. I have watched it a few times and I am actually really interested to see what this game's going to be like. So, when it came to the trailer, we saw that M is obviously talking about James Bond being such a charmer, and he can influence all the people around him at a wit's end. And that's just something that is true to James Bond. And there's a few elements that we can actually find out what this kind of story is, because the game itself seems to be really interesting. I've actually no issue with the game so far. I like how it's all been going, what they've announced, what they've shown. James Bond's got his charm and there's absolutely no problems there. The action, the gameplay they've shown so far, and it's been interesting. So I'm interested what they've got to show for the story elements. And I think the first thing I want to kind of talk about is why Glean doesn't want to trust Bond. Something probably because he's immature. I think they said that in the trailer. He's immature, he's not ready, he just goes into it not thinking about it. And it explains why Greenway doesn't trust him. Because they're looking for someone who's more measured in the field. Now, one of the main things is, when it comes to the story, is how does Bond become Bond? That's what the main aim of this game is, apart from it being fun. And we see really two elements of the story that gets played out when he's on his first mission with Greenway, in Aleppo, or whatever it's called, with all the ships in the rusted out area, where we will talk about that later on, and the Iceland mission. And the incident in Iceland that keeps getting reminded about everyone. So the only thing I was able to really start with, I want to talk about Iceland first, is this shot here where he's clearly in Iceland, where he's in his Royal Navy uniform, which is shown in this picture here about him in his Royal Navy. He used to be the Royal Navy before he was in 007 program. What seems to have happened is him and his squad, or whoever it is, both helicopters got shot down before they got into this area in Iceland. And then we get to this photo here, which I was able to capture, that was shown on the trailer, of this base that was in Iceland. So he looks to be sole survivor that's made it. And what M seems to be liking about him is the fact that he went out his way to protect his guys. Maybe that one that got brought up, I don't know. And it's just interesting from there. The next thing we should be talking about is probably the few other scenes where, obviously, 009 is a thing, where we actually got a shot of the data file of what 009 is. We don't actually know what 009 looks like. It could be anyone, we could have seen him before, or we don't. But we do have a villain in the game, but we'll not talk about him yet. We have a data file which explains to him his status not active, top ranking field agent. The agent's skill set is multilingual, social infiltrator, and disguise mystery. And the only project and the psychic profile of insufficient data, and only mission linking to this game from now to before is something called Nightfall, I believe it's called. And I believe that's what Iceland was called, and that's what Nightfall, the operation, is. Easy. Easy. Not. So we talk about villains. We do have another villain that's popped up into this game. We have another villain called Bama. I think that's his name. He's in Aleph. That's what I was meant to be saying. That desert place is called Aleph. And this is the one where it's basically a bunch of old, rusted out container cargo ships. And Aleph Bama has been able to make a little kingdom of himself out of this whole place. And what seems to be shown in the mission, which we actually got an exclusive one with IGN FanFest, of a whole new trailer, which I'm showing you just now, of 007 and Greenway getting hung upside down above some alligators and one guy getting fed. And this is interesting because this is kind of like one of your mini villains, I think. I don't think this is your main villain or your henchman. He's just one of the other villains that will pop up in the game. like the 007, not 007, the like the Hitman ones where they're like, oh, there's a whole bunch of villains except for the main guy at the end. That's what he is, I think. And if they get away, they get away. Most of the gameplay trailer actually shows you playing in RF of all the action and so on. You know, when you see when he gets captured, you see when he's getting hanged, and you see when they get away. And it shows getting away with this person in the golden mask. Now, I'm interested because in the background here, this is the same area that we're talking about before, RF. And I think this is 009 or someone with very significant ties to 009. I'm not sure who it is or what it is, but if the mask is a thing you can buy as a special purchase, it's a possibility this is 009's mask. But we have many different locations about this stuff. We see him shooting the RPG Greenway in 007 trying to get when they try and escape fully, and this person in the golden mask seems to pop up a few times, and if it's buyable purchases, well, it might actually be important. Another thing we have to kind of consider is the coffin scene. Don't know whether this is the start or the end of the game. Say after Iceland, this is where all his boys die, and he's the only survivor. Don't know what he's done, but this leads him to become the 007. There's another shot with the hand touching him, saying he doesn't need to be in service anymore, and that's all good. I don't know if it's one of the girls that we see in the story, or if it's someone else with significance. But it's someone that's telling him he doesn't have to do this anymore. And then there's this gentleman. I don't know who he is. I don't know if he's part of the government services. He's seen the incident in Iceland and looks forward to it. I have a personal aspect. This could be 009. Okay, I'm just going to throw it out there. I think that might be 009. But you never know. It just matches some of the things from the photo of the data file. That's all it is. It just matches some of that. And I don't know if it is him or if it's not him, and Bond just doesn't know it yet. But it's interesting to see what it could be, because there's a lot of James Bond of the story that we're not knowing yet, and it's coming out in May anyway. And we do have some insider stories about what's going to be going on in this game. And I hope it's good. I hope it's not bad. I hope I can play on the gaming channel. Please subscribe. And I think we should just see you later and see how it goes. Because we're showing stuff right at the start early. So let's just not lose the momentum while we've got it, guys. Let's go.
Agents have very short life expectancy. And if you do get caught, we will deny ever having heard of you. How does that sound?
When do I start?